Hello, hello, and happy Monday once again, my little Liberty lovers. Welcome back to the flagship Lions of Liberty podcast. Before we get into today's interview, I want to tell you a little something about an amazing offer being put forward by our good friend Anthony Samaroff of the Scottish Liberty podcast. Not only is Anthony an amazing libertarian, he is also a therapist by trade and has put together a great program for helping people overcome social anxieties. He literally wrote the book on how to create small talk. And right now, Anthony is offering a free hour-long session for listeners of this program. All you have to do is hit them up and tell them Lions of Liberty sent you. There are no strings attached. If you don't enjoy the hour, you don't think you're getting anything out of it, then no harm, no foul. Everyone will be friends afterwards. But at some point when we're allowed to be socially non-distant again, you're going to want those people skills. You're going to want to overcome any social anxieties you do have. And this is an amazing opportunity to get some free help, some free tips from someone who really has a knack of helping people out with this stuff. If you're interested, please email Anthony. That's Antony, Anthony, not Anthony. Anthony at beyourselfandloveit.com. Tell him Lions of Liberty sent you.
Welcome to the Lions of Liberty podcast. Here's your host, your guide, your shining beacon of liberty, Marc Claire.
All right, my guest today is the COO of Praxis, an alternative to college for people who are excited about carving their own paths in life rather than just following the boring old status quo. Very pleased to welcome for the first time, Mitchell Earl. Mitchell, are you ready to roar?
Let's rock and roll.
Awesome.
Excited
Rock,
to be here.
Roll,
yeah.
Roar. We can do all of it. Mitchell, since this is your first time here, I just want to start off getting a little bit of background about you. How did you first get involved in education and Praxis, which we'll, of course, talk a lot more about? Where did y'all come from? How did this all start for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll try not to give you the completely unabridged story, but I think it's where I am today, how I got involved with Praxis, very personal story. It kind of a function of my background as a student, high school, college. You know, I was the straight A, overachieving, pad my resume, participate in everything, high school student, hell bent on, pursuing the most prestigious sounding route in college. Got into college with these goals of going into medical school. And about a year and a half into college, I got involved with a startup, and I had no idea about this. I'd never experienced anything like this. It was a very small team. And over the course of my sophomore through senior year till I graduated, I worked with this startup, and it went from, an idea, handful of people, to several thousand people all across the country. This awesome thing that just completely changed my mind. And I realized I was like, I have no interest in medical school. I want to do this other bigger thing. And I hated college. I didn't like going to class. I liked doing all these other things. I liked the social aspect. There were all these things that were entertaining, and I spent a lot of time on.
Sure.
But most of the things I learned were not actually in the classroom. And so as I was getting closer to graduation, it's like, well, if not medical school, I still don't know what I want to do. So I'll go to law school, because that gives me a soft landing. That gives me this that buys some time while I figure out what I want to do. And I got out in the real world, and I was like, man, I'm still not sure what I want to do, but let me start crossing things off the list that I don't like. I worked in financial services for a while. I worked at a law firm. While I was planning on going to law school, and I ended up working with the Foundation for Economic Education in Atlanta, putting on seminars all over the country, about free market ideas. That's where I met Isaac Morehouse, who's the founder of Praxis. Right. And he challenged me. I was about 2 weeks away from starting law school at the time. And he was like, hey, what if I could make some introductions to some cool people that are doing really cool things right now? They've started some cool businesses. I think that you would learn a lot and you'd enjoy these. Give me 1 year. And if you don't like it, you're not intrigued at all, you don't feel like you're growing personally, go back to law school, just defer your scholarships or whatever. And that was a huge leap, huge risk. Praxis was still really early at that point, but I ended up making the leap against the better judgment of friends and family.
Of course.
And I never looked back.
Often those become the best decisions. The ones where everyone is telling you not to do it. That should be a key sometimes to say, well, maybe that's what I should do then.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. So I've never looked back, and it's been an awesome experience. A lot has happened since then, but that's kind of the most important.
I want to tick back the clock a little bit. You mentioned that startup you were involved with at one point. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because just hearing your story play out, it seems like that is where the spark first came from a little bit when you kind of got a little bit out of that university system and out of the classroom and into the startup. It seemed to, from what you're saying, sort of start the wheels turning a little bit and what did eventually lead you to where you are today. So can you tell us a little bit more about your experience there and some things that maybe stood out to you that kind of maybe you start thinking, well, maybe this normal path isn't exactly right for me?
Yeah. So that experience was really the key takeaways there and things that I think got the wheels turning. That really until years later I didn't gain get a good sense or appreciation for what I was learning there. But it gave me this big contrast between like the real world and school and learning in the real world versus an education and like following rules. And so the startup, it was called the Odyssey. Olympia Media Group, this small group of people who had graduated from Indiana and Purdue at the time. And their idea was to start this media company for millennials. It started out as just a campus newspaper, local campus newspaper produced independently by local campuses. And they wanted to launch this on every campus. And I got, I got the good fortune of helping start this on my campus, Oklahoma State, with a handful of different friends. And it took off. And it was really cool. It was my first exposure to business from the inside. We got to hire people, recruit people. I got to edit a newspaper. I got to write. I was when I changed my major from this destined for medical school as a result of this. And so I was studying communications allegedly in the classroom. But meanwhile, I'm like helping edit this newspaper and grow this publication. And we're doing everything from selling ad space door to door to hiring writers and producing this newspaper on a weekly basis. And in the classroom, they're like worried about MLA, AML format, like you've got a period in the wrong place. And like, this isn't how it goes. And I'm like, meanwhile, out in the real world, we're selling ad space to businesses. We've got this profitable business running, and we're the turnover is quick. We're producing the newspaper every single week, and it just completely changed my mind. And here are some of the fun takeaways. Try not to ramble too much, but
ramble away, please. That's what the show is all about, roaring and rambling, man.
One of my favorite takeaways from this is my senior year. So in order to graduate from my degree program, there's this capstone requirement. You had to have an internship or whatever. It had to be approved by the department. Uh-huh. And I'd been working for the startup for 3 years. And I was like, surely I can just submit this as an internship credit or whatever. And the first time I applied, they're like, no, that's not good enough. Sorry, we didn't approve this in advance, so you can't get credit for this. And I'm like, meanwhile, I'm working 20 to 40 hours per week on this project, this paper and business that didn't exist 3 years ago.
Way more than what any internship would actually be. I mean, by far, experience wise.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm learning how to run a business and get to be very involved in this. And so I didn't think anything of it, but I waited until like graduation to like a couple weeks before graduation, just to spite the university. And I resubmitted the exact same internship as credit. And again, they're like, sorry, we can't take this. And I was like, well, how about you speak to the people that I work with? And so I got them on the phone, arranged a call with the regional sales manager and the CEO of the company. And both of these people like came to my defense and just like completely, changed the university's mind or whatever. And was like, this guy's been helping us manage this business. He's helped us get us off the ground. Like this is far more than an internship program. Like we would hire him if he wanted to come work for us. And so it's just a hilarious thing where it was like, I'm learning these actual valuable skills and the people who are paying me think they're valuable, but this bureaucracy thinks it's not valuable. So it was hilarious.
That alone must have already had you thinking, like, what is the point of these college classes if I'm doing this thing outside of it? They don't even seem to approve of it, let alone the fact that I'm learning just way more much about the real world. And that your story rings so true to me because I was also a communications major. I took those journalism classes, so I know exactly what you're talking about, how they can almost just suck the life out of you. And it actually made me not want to do journalism. Ironically, I've sort of circled back in a way now doing the podcast. Some would call this journalism, others might not, but it's neither here nor there. But I mean, it seems to me that something I noticed as soon as I got out of college and I started working, I started learning all these things. And I started thinking to myself, why did I learn literally none of this in college? Like the only things I learned about in my industry that I ended up in television production, I mean, I learned so much theory about it. Like you said, we learn theory. We learn, different, all these like accounting terms, not necessarily the actual day-to-day nuts and bolts of things, especially, I went to a pretty good university, but technology-wise, they were still well behind where things were by the time I actually got out. So when I got out to the real world, none of what I needed to learn, I had learned in college, which I paid all this money for, went into debt for, spent like 10 years paying off loans for. Meanwhile, and I'd say in what I do, approximately about half the people are like me, somebody that went to university and did the normal path and ended up in this area, and other people that just didn't. They didn't go to college. They ended up just working in a TV station or what have you, and working their way in. And to me, I'm like, wow, man, that path that those other people took, the people that didn't go to college, that seems like they went on a much better path. Even though I'm sure their parents probably told them you got to go to college, or their teachers told them you got to go to college. Meanwhile, they were pretty much where I was, only minus all that debt and minus all those frustrating classes that just sucked the life out of me. So your story definitely rings true to me, and I'm sure to many other people out there.
Yeah, I definitely, as you talk about the people who made what I think today is probably a sounder choice, and one that was a little bit more true to themselves. The unfortunate thing is, like, they get treated like social pariahs. Right. In many cases, like, oh, you didn't go to college. Well, what's wrong with you or whatever. And it's so crazy that the social
where'd
narrative
you screw up, huh?
Yeah, it's so crazy and unfair, especially given the context of today. Like, the cost of college is not what it was when I went, and it's definitely not what it was 20, 30 years ago. It's continued to balloon out of control. And so many people, particularly young people, they don't really know what they want to do yet. And that's a terrible time to go and mortgage your future and strap yourself down to a ton of debt, where on the other side of that, you're forced to go get a job. It doesn't matter if you like the job or not. You got to pay bills now, and you got the student debt hanging over your head. And so that's where, my heart goes out to the people who make that choice to please other people or meet expectations of their family and friends or whatever. But that's what we're trying to change at Praxis too.
All right, so what really sets Praxis apart from the typical path? Just going to high school, applying for college, getting into that college, going through your 4-year degree, maybe even going to more school after that if you feel like spending more money, and then just getting a job. Why is this path so different? I mean, who is it? And more specifically, I want to ask, like, who is this for? What kind of person is this for? Just like everything, I'm sure it's not for everybody.
Yeah, great question. So I want to make it clear, like first and foremost, like, we're not trying to be better than college. We're not trying to like destroy college or anything like that. But I know that there are people out there who they have this burning belief inside that they're meant for more, that they've got something. There's some big, hairy, audacious goal they have. They may not be able to articulate or define what that is, but they're on this mission to go do something big with their lives. And the normal infrastructure out there, public school or to college, that doesn't really support people that are these natural, like, tinkerers, these entrepreneurial people, the kids that like can't sit still in class because they're fascinated by ideas and they want to do all these cool things or whatever.
Not only does it not support them, but it also, I would say, it suppresses them. It suppresses you from being extra creative and thinking outside of the box. I mean, if you're doing anything besides answering that bell and going to a new room every 45 minutes, you're doing something wrong according to that system.
Yeah, it's debilitating in many cases, and I think some people do recover, but a lot of people, they like end up never pursuing the things that they're crazy about. So when I think about Praxis and the unique opportunity is, like, we want to help people at least get clarity about the different career options out there. What are the different careers and roles out there that map well to my interests now and the skills that I have? And what are the gaps between where I'm at today and those different career paths that interest me? So part of it is just career discovery, but it's also about helping people get started strong without the debt. It's about helping them live a self-directed life, helping them learn how to create a self-directed learning experience, and helping them get ahead. And instead of, many cases, getting out to the real world for the first time, and you've already got this balloon behind you, this huge parachute of debt and like uncertainty, and this almost, for lack of a better term, you're brainwashed into looking for someone to give you an assignment and tell you what to do, versus looking at the world and just seeing opportunities to take initiative on.
I think that's the proper term. I think brainwashing is the proper term. I think you did fine there.
Yeah. So it's about helping people get there, start strong, help them do it faster, help them do it cheaper, and also do it with a community of people that are like-minded. We have an awesome community of participants and alumni that are, they're early in their careers. They're working cool jobs at awesome, fast-growing companies all over the country. And they're all on their own learning mission, this self-directed education mission to get better at whatever it is they're interested in, whether it's directly related to their job or their own areas of interest outside of that. And that's a cool thing to witness.
Hey there, Liberty Kitties. Time to take a quick time out to tell you about one of our long-time supporters. His name is Tyler Colford, and he goes by the pseudonym Crypto Man. That's his rapping name. That's right. He is a rapper as well. He does some awesome stuff, and he recently produced a track called Free Ross. And the Ross in question is, of course, Ross Ulbricht, the creator of the Silk Road Marketplace, who was sentenced to 2 life sentences for creating that marketplace. Yes, it was a black market indeed of all sorts of things, including drugs, consensual transactions, which libertarians are completely in favor of. There were no victims and there were no crimes as far as we're concerned. So please do check out the track Free Ross. It was just released on Friday, March 27th, the 35th birthday of Ross Ulbricht. And 100% of the proceeds will go to the Free Ross Foundation, which is helping to free Ross and bring more awareness to his situation. Do check out the links. I will put them all over at lionsofliberty.com/free Ross for ease of use. You can also pre-order it on Google Play. Again, 100% of the proceeds of this track will be going to help free Ross.
Still wonder why there's an overpopulation in the prison system, persecuting crimes when there is no victim. Parents doing time, separating children, perpetuating crime to a future generation.
Let's break down sort of the difference in choosing these paths here. Let's say someone is listening right now and about to maybe go to college, or maybe they're thinking, well, maybe I don't want to do that. So what would the path look like for someone that instead of just pursuing, I mean, just from a cost aspect, I don't know the numbers now. I went to college quite a while ago, but I'm going to guess an average 4-year university is going to cost, at a very bare minimum, even if you get a really cheap one, a really affordable one, $10,000 to $20,000 a year. It's probably way higher than that. So what would it look like if someone chose to the Praxis route? What would that look like in comparison to cost, in comparison to time, in comparison to the commitment? What's that sort of division look like?
Yeah, so I actually think it's closer to $60,000 all in.
Yeah, I figured I was really, really low.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like other options.
Oh my God. And now I hear so many people now that are going to college for 5 years, 6 years, because they don't even know what they want to do. And they end up, going down different paths. And then that number gets even bigger.
Yeah, and that number changes, obviously. A lot of people get aid. A lot of people go and try and suppress the cost with community college for a couple of years, with much cheaper, more affordable route. And it varies, am I going public, private? Am I staying in state? There are all those, whatever. Those are all like fancy ways of saying like, well, the number you have isn't right. The fact of the matter is it's really expensive.
Yeah.
And that's just factoring in the cost of going. It's not even factoring in the opportunity cost of foregone earnings.
Right.
And the foregone, the opportunity cost of your time, 4 years not learning in the real world, not getting experience, not making money. That's a huge opportunity cost. When I think about what we're doing at Praxis, like, we're very selective in the type of participant we allow into the program. And it's because, if you're waiting for somebody, if you're the type of person who needs somebody to tell you what to do, like you're not going to succeed in our environment. It takes an ambitious, self-starting person. That doesn't mean that a straight A student, but it does mean that it's somebody that's naturally curious and they're willing to put in the work and commitment to get to their goals. And so when we have that type of participant and they're accepted in the program, the boot camp is 6 months. And at the end of that, we guarantee them a full-time job. And our average starting salary, so average income in the first year for graduates is $50,000. And so you contrast that with a college grad, and let's not forget now that the timeline for a college grad has continued to extend.
And you're saying $50,000 for that first job?
That first job.
Yeah, I would be doing backflips if I made that right out of college. Let alone out of a 6-month program. Aside from the fact that I just spent 4 years in that college.
Yeah, which is the average starting salary for a college grad, and that timeline has continued to expand. For college grads, I think that it's not just 4 years in many cases. It's now between 4 and 6 years that you're waiting to go get your first job, and in many cases, those college graduates, they're not even landing those career jobs on the outside. Like I think something like it's something like 43% of college grads today are underemployed in their first job out of college. So I'm going and taking a job at Starbucks or whatever. No disrespect to people working at Starbucks or hustling trying to make it work, but they're not doing what they went to college in order to access. Right. Contrasted with our grads who are like, I'm ready to go do something cool now, and I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait. I'm going to go take control of my life, and I'm going to go do something awesome now. And over that same 4 to 6 year stretch, our graduates, they're not only getting better outcomes faster right out of the gates, but they're advancing quickly in whatever company or roles they're in. And many times they're becoming, some of the best people in their roles, what I like to refer to as like rising stars in their industries or in their different roles. I know so many people that are absolutely awesome sales professionals who are 2-3 years into their career and went through Praxis. And it's because they're almost obsessive in their pursuit of being the best at what they do. And that's cool to see.
When you guys say you guarantee that they'll get this job right out of the program, is that like a money back guarantee? Like, how does that work? Or you guys just know you can make it happen. So you just, kind of put that out there.
Yes, we know we can make it happen. I think that, it is incumbent upon participants, putting in the work and effort too. So that part of this is we are so careful in vetting our candidates, but it also is a money back guarantee. We refund up to 50% of the tuition for people who don't get hired within 3 months of graduating the program. And we're very confident our process works. The boot camp works. People get better. And we're also confident in the way that we approach the job placement process, which is entirely different than the normal, the way a normal college grad goes and looks for jobs.
What is that process like? What differentiates it?
So the normal college grad, and I think this is the normal route for people that, I'm on the job hunt. I'm going to go look at jobs boards. I'm going to go start on Indeed or LinkedIn or wherever, whatever job board of your choice. And you're going to go look for positions that companies have posted. You're going to go follow the rules, submit a resume, cover letter, follow all the rules that they say there. And that method is consistently bad. It is consistently a volume game where I think the last stat I read is like the average job seeker applies to 150 jobs in order to land one job offer.
Yeah, I remember in college, my guidance counselor that sort of guided me through this process of applying for jobs. He had this whole chart where you're supposed to like line up all the companies you could ever think you could ever possibly work for, have all your resumes, cater different resumes to different companies, and mark each one off and where you are in the process. And even just that part felt so soul sucking to me. Like I'm just supposed to be throwing darts at every company and just hope that someone will take me on. Just even at that point, before I'd even launched into the real world aspect of my career, I was already starting to feel the soul suck a little bit.
Yeah, and it's the same thing that I think many people that are frustrated in college but still go. I think it's the same frustration they feel. So they feel powerless. Like I'm waiting for somebody else to pick me. Right. I'm at the high school dance hoping somebody picks me. Yeah. And our approach, the entire philosophy about what we're doing, both with the boot camp, the program, and what we believe as a team is about taking control, taking self-ownership and personal agency and maintaining that. And when you take that mindset and you apply it to the job hunt, it's not about like, let me go look for all the openings. It's about making your own opportunities. So in many cases, it's going and starting your search with companies that interest you. What are companies that are solving problems that I have a particular interest in? Or what are companies that are hiring for the types of skills that I like and I'm good at, or the things that I'm good at? And how can I position myself to solve a problem this company has? So it's about putting your value on display versus like looking for opportunities they're posting. And so our participants through that placement process, it's about creating strong value propositions. It's about proving that you can do the job before you have the job. In many cases, that's doing a project, like going and researching the company. Let's just come up with a hypothetical scenario. If you want to work on the customer support team, like going and doing deep research on that company's website and on different review platforms, looking at 100 different customer reviews, positive, negative, and writing responses to those as an exercise. And then going on LinkedIn, researching who might be the hiring manager for that and sending them that project along with a strong value proposition. Hey, I took the time to research your company. I'm familiar. I'm at least base level familiar with what you do, I think there's an incredible opportunity for me to come in and help you do this specific thing better. And that's fundamentally different than saying, hey, here's my resume. It says that I know how to do Microsoft Excel.
Right.
You know, it's fundamentally different from this credential mindset that college approaches the world with.
I almost think when some of these companies are going through resumes, like now that I look back, I got to think my resume couldn't have stood out that much more than so many other people. I mean, it checked all the boxes. It said what degree I had. It said a couple internships I had. It said that I could do Microsoft Excel or a couple editing programs. I mean, but how many other people are they getting with those resumes that are basically the same? I mean, at some point it's like, did I just get lucky? Did I just get picked out of a hat? Whereas this is a totally different approach to things. I mean, this is actually someone who actually, you're taking someone who has a real interest in that specific company and having them craft sort of a solution to a problem even before they get there, which I got to say, when a company sees that coming in, they probably got to already be thinking like, who's that? What is this? Like, I mean, it's such a different approach to things. I'm curious how you find the companies reacting to you guys as they learn more about what Praxis is, because they're so used to just getting these standard resumes and interacting people that went through the standard system. What kind of response have you gotten from those companies, both about your program as they learn about it, and of course about the people that end up working for them eventually?
Extremely positive results and extremely positive responses. And in many cases, once someone hires their first Praxis participant, they're eager. You know, the next time they're hiring for that position, it's I want to look at other candidates. I want to see some other grads from this program. And that it's not just the program. I think that there's generally a positive, positive impression from our program, but it's the people. It's not us. It's these candidates are awesome because the way that they approach things, they have this very like value creation first mindset, where when they go get started at this company, it's like, how can I do something really valuable on my first day, my first week, my first 30 days? And they're hustling out there, and people love that energy. And so it's not just what we do. In many cases, our customers and participants are they've got all the right raw material. We help give them some guidance. We plug them into an awesome community, and we help them rethink the way to approach their careers. And then we give them a little nudge. In many cases, we're making introductions, but they're not being hired by virtue of graduating from our program. Companies are hiring our graduates by virtue of their skills, their ambition, their forward tilt. And that's the cool thing. We're not trying to create this new credential where, you know, if we did 10 times as many customers, people just want to hire that. But, you know, that happens. That's not a terrible thing, but we want to protect the quality of our participants as well.
I'm curious if you guys have any haters out there. Do you still run into people that hear about this program and think, you guys are nuts, you guys are crazy, of course you got to go to a 4-year university, of course you got to do things the way things have been done for the last century or plus or what have you? What kind of objections do you get out there? I'm sure you got to get some.
Oh yeah, the haters are always there. You know, they're always in the comment sections, and there is a massive percentage of those haters that are, you know, your traditional obvious objections. You know, college is the only way, the amazing lifetime earnings argument that I think everybody probably hears their entire life is, you know, on average, the college graduates earn over $1 million more during the course of their lifetime. And all these different statistics, fact-based arguments. Well, college is a great place to socialize, whether that's a healthy form of socialization or not. Like all of those types of things are like expected objections. And I almost empathize with those people. It's like, I get that this is the popular social narrative. The haters that are worse though are like, what you're doing is a scam. You are cheating people out of money. You're making them pay you to get hired. And it's like,
you can make you can make that argument pretty strongly for the university system as it currently stands.
Well, yeah, that's you beat me to the punch there. It's like that we're held anytime. I think this isn't just true of what we're doing. I think this is true of anybody that's trying to disrupt or innovate, is like you're held to a different standard of scrutiny than the existing regime, which is absolutely incredible. And I welcome the haters. You know, what we're doing, fact of the matter, it's not for everybody. Just a lot of people that go to college and they want to be told what to do, they won't succeed in our program. So, you know, when I come on podcasts and when we put content out in the world, it's for the people who we're right for. It's not for the people that we're wrong for.
And that's such a big difference in philosophy, because I think one of the biggest problems with the university system is that we act like it is for everybody. Like everybody should just, no matter what your interests are, no matter what you want to pursue, no matter what, you have to go do this thing first. You know, it's just this thing that we're supposed to take for granted. Whereas the fact of life is, everybody has a path that's going to be right for them. And so for some people, it might be Praxis. For some people, it might be a regular university. For some people, it might be something completely different. The point is, more options are always better. No one's ever had too many options in life. Having options is what improves us as a society, what enables us to pursue different paths more easily. And as I see this options like Praxis pop up, as I see even, going earlier in the education process, things like homeschooling becoming more popular, or even unschooling. Yeah. I do see cracks in the current sort of mindset about schooling overall, especially about the university system, because I think so many people today, especially millennials, are coming out and saying, man, I'm in all this debt and I'm living with my parents because there's no jobs available for me. Why did I even do this? And I'm kind of, and especially now with coronavirus coming up, and I really see this might be, out of all the positives, I think there's a lot of negatives, obviously, with a big virus going around that people are freaking out about and crashing the economy for. It's a whole different rant. But some of the positives I can see are maybe some cracks in this university system, because right now there's a lot of universities that are keeping people at home, letting people work remotely and learn remotely. Yep. And as they're able to do that, I got to imagine at some point people start to look around and say, then why are we paying so much money for all these huge buildings, all these expensive, lavish campuses? Why are we paying, people extremely high salaries to run these universities? Why are we pumping so much government money into this stuff? I got to think at some point when people find in real life that they can learn outside of that system, then that's when the real cracks are going to start to turn into bigger and bigger cracks, and maybe see the whole thing tumbling down. Maybe I'm too optimistic when it comes to seeing change here, but how do you see not just specifically coronavirus, but maybe shifting attitudes towards the university system? Have you noticed that this along your path here at all?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that I share your optimism. As terrible as all of the different implications, short and long term, that are possibly going to come out of this hysteria and shutdown and all of this stuff, I am truly optimistic about the questions that it raises. Of like, if college being physically present and on campus, if that was such a prerequisite to our success and our ability to deliver this, this thing that we said that we've been claiming for years, you have to come here and pay all this money for, then why were universities so quick to shut down and not fight a little bit harder? Like, right. Oh, wait, we have millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. If you shut this down, like
our future generations are at stake here. Come on, this is the most important thing they can be doing with their life. So we have to keep it going.
An educated populace is the most important thing. Yeah, you hear these arguments all the time that everybody has to everybody has to go to college, not just for the jobs things, but there's this intrinsic value of being educated and all these things. And now I think a lot of these arguments are beginning to break down, not just like whether that's valuable or not, but like the mechanism for delivering that thing, whether it's this esoteric education or learning, or if it's truly you have to go complete this credential in order to access better jobs. The fact of the matter now, I think people are asking is like, is this worth it? Is the experiment as it's always been conducted, is this the best way to do it? Can I get the exact same thing or a pretty good, slightly reduced version of it, cheaper, better, faster, remote, from home, without moving away from home, getting an apartment or living on campus, right. Paying thousands of dollars for a meal plan and textbooks and going to classes and making sure that I can pay these bloated university officials salaries and pay for this massive sports stadium and all these, like all these things that are unnecessary. It's now like what's the smallest possible version that's actually that actually helps people get the outcomes they're allegedly going to college for. Better jobs, better career outcomes, more freedom, more flexibility. I think that all of this is going to put, the higher education in general under this microscopic lens of, let's not just point fingers at all the things that were done wrong and bad, but what could it be if we started with a fresh, clean slate? What could it be? And that's a really exciting conversation.
So do you see this as a trend then? Do you see more organizations, not just practice, but just this general idea maybe of even just bringing back apprenticeships, just working under someone in an industry as opposed to going to a 4-year university and deciding if you actually like this thing that you just spent 4 years learning out about afterwards? And do you see this trend of alternatives to education just continuing?
Absolutely. Like the boot camp market in particular has been just growing exponentially over the past decade. And I think that when I say boot camp, I think the average person, if you're not familiar, like you think of like software engineering or whatever the case. Like
I think of doing push-ups, like and getting yelled at by someone at the gym, a personal trainer.
Yeah, or CrossFit or something like this. But that market has been growing exponentially, and even these tertiary adjacent markets, just all of this like education online, ed tech. You see things like Udemy, Coursera, Teachable, right. Khan Academy, Acton Academy,
unlimited ways to
Skillshare. There are countless different mechanisms for learning that people are pursuing. And what I think too is like you look at people that are a few years out into their careers, maybe whether they went to college or not, and they're like, I don't love what I'm doing, and I want to figure out how to go do this next thing. And people are now looking, what's the cheapest, fastest, best, most agile mechanism for learning what I need to know in order to bridge the gap between where I am and a career that I'm excited about. And I think that is an awesome wave that's building momentum. And I think that it's going to continue to trickle down, not just for the people who are learning, as a function of improving their careers, so people that are in their 20s, late 20s, 30s later on, but like also people younger. Like I think that this is going to trickle down into, I'm very hopeful, but I think it's going to continue to trickle down into the way that high school and elementary school and preschool, whatever case, I don't think that, I don't think those institutions can continue to ignore the movement that's happening.
Well, our listeners will certainly not be ignoring it. This is the exact kind of topic that I'm really trying to get into more and more this year, specifically education and alternatives to education, and really just alternatives in life and try to help people think outside of the typical box. Because I think in so many ways, we're often trapped in a mental prison. We're told this is the way society is, this is the path you have to go on. And as far as I'm concerned, the more ways we can break people from that mindset, just the mindset. If you break through the mindset and you go through your options and you still think university or that typical path is the right option, I think that's perfectly wonderful too. I mean, for some people it is the right path. For some people, if you want to be a doctor or an engineer or what have you, you might need to go through that path to do what you need to do. But just breaking people out of that idea that you need to go on this one path that society has laid out for you, I think breaking free from that is one of the most important missions that I have, and I'm sure that's part of what you really want to do here too. So, Mitchell, it's been an awesome time talking to you, man. It's been a blast. Before I let you go, why don't you just give a little run through here of all the ways people can find out more about Praxis, how they can reach out to you if they want some more information.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate it. This has been fun too. So if you want to learn more about Praxis, visit discoverpraxis.com, or personally, I'd love to talk to you, Mitchell, Mitchell at discoverpraxis.com. Very responsive on email. So I'd love to chat with you if you're more interested in learning more.
I can attest to that. Mitchell's very quick at getting back to email. Within 2 or 3 minutes, you're getting a response. So, Mitchell, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate the time, and keep up the great work, and good luck with everything you guys are doing over at Praxis. I think it's awesome. So keep up that great work, man, and keep on roaring.
Yeah, thanks, man. Talk soon.
All right, my kitty cats, I hope you enjoyed my conversation today with Mitchell Earl of Praxis. It's nice to spend a little time not just talking about coronavirus, because there is going to be a world beyond this, and that world is going to be very different than the one we have now. But I think there are going to be many opportunities for different methods of delivery of many different services, including in the educational field, especially as a lot of parents are involuntarily homeschooling right now. That's going to cause some changes, and a lot of changes are going to be occurring as more and more people see cracks in the institutions that we have in place, see the lack of necessity for them, and pivot to programs like Praxis and seeking alternative means to advancing their career, advancing their skill set, and that sort of thing. So please do check out Praxis if you're in the region of someone who is going to be looking for school or making a major life decision of that sort sometime soon. On an entirely different note, I want to tell you about our brand new t-shirt we just spoofed up. It's a parody. It's a Tiger King parody t-shirt, the Tigers of Liberty. And if you have not seen this t-shirt, It is hilarious. It is ridiculous. You just have to see it to believe it. That's all I can really say. So head over to lionsofliberty.store. It should be the first item you see on there, the Tigers of Liberty t-shirt. And right now, for a limited time, just through the end of April, we're going to be giving these puppies away to anybody who joins our Patreon at $15 per month or higher. Also, this will apply to upgrades for anybody who's currently a Patreon in the Lions of Liberty Pride. Of course, the Lions of Liberty Pride supports everything we do, pays for our hosting, pays for us to go to other events, pays for our equipment. It was going to pay for us to go to the LNC, although that is looking a little bit in flux right now, so we'll have to stay tuned on that one. But you don't just get to support this show to support the greatest libertarian variety show on earth. You also get access to loads of exclusive bonus content. We do a bunch of live streams right to our secret Pride Facebook group, and we really go out of our way to make sure that our patrons get plenty of bang for their buck, get tons of exclusive bonus content, and at various levels of patronage, you get various levels of access to the hosts and the ability to even influence the show itself. We have a Nittany level show for $50 a month. You can get on the list to give us a topic. And once per month, we produce a Nittany level program. Last month, we did a roundtable on Electric Liberty Land, looking at libertarian solutions to the homeless problem. And next week, you're going to hear another Nittany level show right here with a bunch of special guests, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But I promise you it's going to be a fun time. That's what I will guarantee. One more great thing about joining our Patreon right now is that we have partnered with our friends at DonorSee to help people affected by coronavirus and the various associated lockdowns around the world through their amazing platform. Check out what everything they're doing for this over at donorsee.com/coronavirus. But we are contributing 10% of our Patreon earnings to help DonorSee combat this virus, not just the virus, but all the people that are affected by the lockdowns and just the lack of ability to get certain supplies. It's bad for people here in the United States. Just imagine how much worse it is for people in third world countries that already lacked access to sufficient infrastructure, to sufficient supplies, and they were already in a difficult situation. Now they are in just an exponentially worse situation because of everything that's been going on with coronavirus. So please do check that out at patreon.com/Lions of Liberty. And for more on what DonorSee is doing, check out donorsee.com/coronavirus. My friends, thank you again for joining me here on the flagship Lions of Liberty podcast. Don't forget, it's not just me here on Mondays and sometimes more, as I've been doing a lot of extra content here on lockdown. But we also have Brian hitting you upside the head with his special, unique, outrageous, uproarious brand of comedy, culture, and liberty on Electric Liberty Land every single Wednesday, while John Odie Odermatt wraps things up on Fridays with his hard-hitting and inspiring look at the broken criminal justice system on Felony Friday. But as I've said, keep an eye on that feed. Keep an eye on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Lions of Liberty. I've been doing a bunch of live streams. I have a couple more planned in the coming weeks. Those will all hit the feed at some point in podcast form as well. I have more time, so you get more content. That's how it works. I'll have even more time if I don't need to find other ways to make money. So that Patreon money will help us get to that point where we can fully invest ourselves in Lions of Liberty full-time or much closer to full-time. But that's all she wrote for today, kids. And until next time, I only have one request of you, and that is, of course, to
live long and live free.